Alrighty, so first of all, I have the board right here where I am going to look at the first six games as part of part one of this review of match week number, I think it's 29 if I'm not mistaken. I know it's definitely the first match week that we are back in terms of the month-long Leagues Cup break, and I'm actually going to put this down just for a bit because I want to just talk about how crazy it's been in terms of these games that is back in MLS regular season after a month-long Leagues Cup break. I mean, I'm pretty sure the script writer purposely makes sure that these games were as crazy as possible, especially the last game itself, as I'll talk about in tomorrow and as I return to California, that it feels like, yeah, MLS After Dark really took into an overdrive, and that the last game not only had incredibly long stoppage time, but I feel like it was kind of almost on purpose. The fact that, yeah, I'm gonna basically do this review even later than I needed to do because, as you probably know, I am at a hotel in Minnesota, and because Minnesota has Central Time, I'm doing this review like at 11:50 in the evening, rather than if I do the review straight away. Normally, I would do it around just a little bit before 10 o'clock Pacific time. That being said, let us actually get into these games because obviously, I can definitely continue the kind of rambling talk about how there's been a lot of crazy games or some surprising resort. And also, if you're a road team, this was definitely a good week for you because a lot of road team were able to get a point and was able to get a win. And that includes the game that I watched a couple of hours ago and attend at Allianz Field between Minnesota and Seattle. And unfortunately, yeah, my luck in terms of being in person at Allianz Field and never seen Minnesota lose comes to an end. But that's not a big surprise. I mean, you knew that coming into this game against Seattle that Minnesota's probably not going to win the game. I mean, Seattle pretty much have owned Minnesota like I have never seen a team own a franchise in terms of the head-to-head. And heck, I mean, Minnesota have only won one out of what seems like the last 15 matchup against Seattle. And while Minnesota definitely put up a good fight in this game, and they actually have scored more than two goals against Seattle for the first time in all of these meetings, which is kind of crazy to say, but that again, that just shows you how much ownage Seattle has had over Minnesota over the year. It was not enough because, yeah, defense was not a thing in this game for the Loons in this game. Now, early on in the 6th minute, Rodon would blast one into the stands. And by the way, I have the notes on my phone right now, so don't be surprised if I'm going to be moving this board around and also kind of scrolling down the notes. But in the 11th minute, Seattle would take the lead. It's Jordan Morris. He scored from Vargas and Rodon to make it 1-0 in favor of the Sounders, and there was a slip there in the midfield. By the way, slipping would be a big story in this game. Again, there's got to be something wrong with the pitch at Allianz Field. I mean, for whatever reason this season, I've seen many times before where players slip, especially Minnesota player have kind of slip on the turf, and in this game it would play a pivotal part because two of those goals that Seattle have scored in this game, including the winning goal, came because of one of the Loons players slipped on the turf. And here, I forgot who exactly was it that slipped on the turf, but this happened in near the midfield. It's almost kind of like a turnover there in the midfield, and then the defender just kind of completely fall asleep. I forgot to track Jordan Morris. I mean, that guy that has been red hot right now for the Sounders and has been the go-to goal scorer for the Sounders team. Yeah, maybe you need to make sure he doesn't run right behind you, and that's exactly what happened there. And just like that, Seattle were up 1-0 in this one. The shots were 3-0 for Seattle early, as it's another flat start for the Loons at home. And again, I'm not surprised by that because knowing the fact that this team has not played in over a month compared to a Sounders team that have just literally played last week and unfortunately got eliminated in the hands of LAFC and are probably pretty pissed off about that coming into this game. I'm not surprised that Minnesota started slow in this game, and Seattle definitely looked like they didn't skip a beat. But that being said, a penalty was given to Minnesota as VAR deemed that who fouled Yeboah in the box. And also, by the way, I gotta make sure I don't speak too loud because again, it is midnight right now here in Minnesota. I am in a hotel, so there's probably people sleeping across me, and I don't want to basically wake up anybody. But anyway, in the 26th minute, or actually in the 22nd minute, as I said, a penalty was given to Minnesota after VAR deemed that who fouled Yeboah in the box. So here comes Yeboah, a chance to score his first career MLS goal for Minnesota on his debut, and he buries it. So yeah, that ties the game up at one apiece. I thought he played very well in this game, Kelvin Yoboa. And even though I know it is still very early days, and you can't really just make a complete judgment based on a player debut. This is definitely a great start for Kevin Yoboa, and hopefully he has more of these games. And I'm also very excited to see how he will line up alongside with Tiny Olivashari because once Tiny does come back, it seems like the Ramsey's probably going to roll out a two striker system. He definitely did it in this game between Yoboa and Pookie, but once Tiny does come back, it seems like that's going to be the system, and it's going to be interesting to see how both of them is going to play out for the rest of the season. But unfortunately, that equalizer didn't last long because just 2 minutes later, Jackson Reagan, all of a sudden, he's starting to score goals at will. I mean, in the Leagues Cup, he scored I think a couple of goals as well. He scored another one here from Rusnak to give the Sounders the lead again. I almost said that they tie the game. Do not be surprised if I made some mistake because I'm actually really tired right now as I'm speaking. But it was a great header there, but once again, just crosses not dealt well by the Loons. And this, I think, was Jefferson Diaz, the one that just got out jumped here, which I am shocked. The fact that well, I don't want to say I'm shocked that he got out jumped. I mean, Jackson Reagan is a pretty tall player, but as a defender, you need to do better in terms of trying to get it. And the fact that he didn't really he did that. I mean, yeah, just not great defending there from Diaz, and just in general, not a great debut for Diaz. So while Kevin Yeboah had an amazing debut for the Loons, it is kind of the opposite for Jefferson Diaz. But like I said about Yeboah, I'm not going to judge this debut on Diaz and say that he's going to be a terrible defender and he's going to be a second coming of Victor Erickson. But yeah, not really a great first impression in a Loons jersey for Jefferson Diaz. Though, that being said, this entire back line was just off in this game. Pookie did look to answer, but he missed that one wide before a Boxall would heads it right to Fry in the 38th minute. Minnesota started creating some chances. They were looking to try to get the equalizer. Yoboa would then cross it high from long range. The shots went out six apiece for both of these teams up to this point, but we do head to halftime with Seattle leading 2-0. In the second half, Sunbin would puts one into the stands before he hits one into the side netting. Minnesota kind of started the second half on the front foot. Whatever Aaron Ramsey said to this team, it kind of worked out because they were really attacking early on. Boxall would then puts it over for goals before Trapwood puts one wide from long range. But then the 56th minute, guess who it is? It's Calvin Yoboa. He scored here from Trap to tie the game up at two apiece. When's the last time that Will Trap actually got an assist? It feels like it's been a long time that since that, of course, has happened. But yeah, great ball to play for Yoboa there, and Yoboa with some calm finishing there. I mean, that's the thing that I'm very looking forward to for him. The fact that he in that spot he can show that clinical finishing and also that composure to lift that one over the goalkeeper. Something tells me he's going to be a very good player for this Minnesota team. But there was no doubt the momentum now was with Minnesota, but they got to also still watch out for the Sounders transition because I think throughout this game the Sounders have been pretty good in the transitional play, though part of that is because of the fact that Minnesota basically have no midfield and defense in this one. I mean, I hamper on the defense throughout this game, but what about the midfield too? I mean, the midfield was just so horrendous by the Loons. The fact that Seattle, every time when they attack, they just kind of go through that midfield at will. This is why, as much as with all these good signings that Minnesota has made throughout this summer transfer window, the fact that they didn't get that number six deal done and didn't get that potential DP level number six deal in, that could be a big problem for this team. And I can understand why some people are not too high on this team despite the deals that they have. I mean, they've definitely done some good deals, but the most crucial part of this team in this transfer window and the most crucial reinforcement that this team needs if they want to make a playoff push is they need a decent number six. And the fact that they didn't do that, I mean, it was kind of shown in full force in this game where it was just so easy many times when Seattle go on the attack that they were bypassing that Minnesota midfield with ease, pretty much. But in the 72nd minute, Atencio would hit one into the stands. But then the 75th minute, really kind of against the run of play, Albert Rusnak would score a long range goal because, of course, Albert Rusnak would score a long range goal, and because, of course, a Sounders player score a long range goal. I mean, the old saying, life, death, and taxes, and something happened. Well, it feels like life, death, taxes, and the Sounders scoring a long range goal against Minnesota, or insert any opponent scoring a long range goal against Minnesota. It has happened a lot this season, and while some of them has been amazing goal, my frustration of this team is why is this team not closing down when it comes to these long range effort? They need to do better in terms of closing down because these long range effort would not happen if they could close down and block out the shot. And while yes, here in this play, again, remember how I talked about the field condition would play a big part of this game? Well, in this play, I think it was Robin Lud, the one that slipped here and couldn't quite block the shot. But even then, going back to that should have never happened on a quick restart as well. Again, this Loons defense just completely fall asleep because of it. And yeah, again, just I'm getting tired of seeing long range goal that is scored against Minnesota. It's happened way too many times this season. Something's gonna have to change if this team is gonna have any chance to make the playoffs, to not concede these kind of long range goal, and also once again not concede in the last 15 minutes of this game. But then in the 78th minute, Morris had a chance to put this one away, but he was robbed by Dane St. Clair, and then De La Vega gets a rebound there, but he was also robbed by Dane St. Clair in the 78th minute. Another example in this game to show how Dane St. Clair, he can make some incredible save and had that 16 save perform against Necaxa, and then there's could be times where he was in this game where he was not very good in this game whatsoever. Dotson then had a shot that was deflected and it hits it right to Fry before Harvey would puts one into the stands. The Loons were definitely pushing hard to try to get the equalizer. Seattle was looking to absorb the pressure, see out the big 3 points. Lawane then hits one right to Fry, and that was kind of the last chance that Minnesota would have in this game. As in the end, Seattle gets another win against Minnesota. I mean, that's been kind of been the case ever since both of these teams play against each other for the first time in 2017. But the shots in this one, 23 shots with a 14 that Seattle has. So Minnesota had more of the shots. But how many times I've said before, it doesn't matter how many shots you have. It's all about those quality chances. And in terms of the shots on goal, as both of these teams had 5 shots on goal, 8 shots off target with 3 that Seattle has, 4 shots that was blocked with the 10 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Minnesota or I'm sorry, 46% possession that Seattle has in this game. So yeah, definitely a great win for the Sounders. They definitely had to fought for it and show their resiliency, which is kind of what you need to do when you're playing on the road in MLS. But Seattle has always been a team that's known to shown that, and they especially known to show that against Minnesota because again, Minnesota just have no answer when they play against the Sounders. I might as well just say that every single season, Minnesota might as well just start with -6 points because those 2 games that they have against Seattle, we know it's going to be a loss and that they're already going to be starting on a deficit because, again, they just have no answer against the Sounders. It doesn't matter if the Sounders are good or bad or if Minnesota is playing well or they're not playing well. Seattle will always win against Minnesota. That's pretty much been a given ever since both of these teams face off against each other for the first time in 2017. Now, moving on in terms of the next match, is Charlotte versus the New York Red Bulls, and now I'm going to start to kind of go through these games relatively quickly. I gone through this game a little bit long because I was in person for this game, so I got more insight of what I saw. And now I'm going to talk about games that I only watch highlights in terms of these games. Though, as I'll do part 2 of the review, I'll once again go a little bit more detail in some of these games, and I have to because what we saw in these last couple of games that I've saw tonight, my goodness, it was absolutely bonkers. But in this game between Charlotte and the Red Bulls, well, this game I think it was a microcosm of the Red Bull season because, well, yes, I know getting a point away on the road against Charlotte, a team that has been very good at home, doesn't seem like it's a bad thing. The Red Bulls should have won this game. And again, how many times I've said this season that they have had these games where they have tons of chances, but the lack of finishing kind of let them down and let them drop points. And that's kind of the case in this one because they were the better team against Charlotte, and they probably should have won this one. Though it didn't get off to a great start for the Red Bulls, though, because a penalty was given to Charlotte after Duncan brought down Vargas from the spot, and here comes Shradetsky, a chance to step up to take the penalty and buries it, and he does. So yeah, that made it 1-0 in favor of Charlotte. That also would be the only shot for the first 15 minutes, as not much really kind of happened, at least early in this game. In fact, fast forward into the 31st minute, Kalina would tip Token shot over before Abada would hits it right to Cornell in the 33rd minute. Morgan then puts it wide from close range, as I thought this game started kind of liven up a little bit. It feels like maybe both of these teams were being a little bit cagey in the beginning part, and not surprising because these are two really good teams in the Eastern Conference. But in the 37th minute, Elias Manuel would ties the game up. He scored from Van Zier and Ely to tie the game up for the Red Bulls. And then Token would puts it wide from close before Manuel would look for his second, but he missed wide there as the momentum was definitely with the Red Bulls. They were pushing to try to get the lead back, but we do head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece between the Red Bulls and Charlotte FC. Now, in the second half, Reams would hit it wide from the corner. So imagine if Tim Reams would score in that play. What a debut that would have been for him and Charlotte. But Van Zier would then miss wide in the front post before Manuel would miss wide from close as the Red Bulls once again had some sustained pressure, but question is, can they show that clinical finishing, which they were only able to show once so far this game? Van Zier then missed wide from close range because, of course, Van Zier missed wide. He's not allowed to score a goal at least ever since the month of May, that is. I mean, he's been going for a really long dry spell right now. Cornell then denied Vargas from long range, and then Pep Biel looked to score his first goal for Charlotte in his first career MLS goal, but he hits it right to Cornell. Morgan had a shot that was deflected and wide, and then Harper hits a one-hopper to Kalina before Morgan would miss wide from close range. Again, the Red Bulls, they had there's a lot of chances that they've been getting, but can they show that clinical finishing? And then in the 86th minute, this play kind of just sums up the Red Bulls' attack, at least throughout the season. Just Corey Burke missed an absolute sitter here. I mean, I know there was a Charlotte defender that kind of put him off a little bit, but that's got to be in the back of net. From that close range, Corey Burke has to bury that, or at least put on target at the very least. There was a huge shout for a penalty for Charlotte, but Junior Urso instead gets a yellow for simulation. I almost forgot that Junior Urso is playing for Charlotte right now and still in the league. I mean, you know, the last time I heard from him, I think it was with Montreal, if I'm not mistaken, and I almost forgot that he got traded for Charlotte. I mean, he's kind of almost been a forgotten man ever since he left Orlando City and been kind of bouncing around the league. But Morgan then hits it wide from long range at the 5th minute of stoppage time. And yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw on this one. The shots in this one, 9 shots compared to 19 that the Red Bulls has had. But again, just like the Seattle versus Minnesota game, it's not about how many shots you have. It's about those quality chances and the shots on goal. And in fact, it's tied at 4 apiece for both of these teams. 3 shots off target for the 11 the Red Bulls had. 4 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Charlotte has. And possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession the Red Bulls has in this game. Again, just a very frustrating game once again for the Red Bulls. Not the first time I've said this on the road where they haven't shown that clinical finishing that cost them a couple of points. And for Charlotte, I mean, I know dropping points at home is never good for them. They really all rely on their home form to get them where they are in the standings. But overall, I think the Dean Smith team probably should be happy about this result, considering, you know, they weren't the better team in this game. They were getting out muscle at times in this game by this Red Bulls team, but very fortunate that they were facing against a Red Bulls team that, again, throughout the season, this has been a problem for this team of finishing chances to get themselves all 3 points, and those points that they left off the table could come back to haunt them if they don't get themselves home field advantage. Because again, the Eastern Conference race, at least in the middle part of it, it is a little bit tighter than you think it is. Now, moving on into one of the chaotic games that happened in this match week, and again, we had a couple of chaotic game, and I would say that this might be the game of the week and maybe one of the game of the year. But then again, the last game that happened tonight, which I'll talk about once I get back to California, yeah, that is not only the game of the night, but probably might be the game of the season. But this one's definitely close because this game looked like, I mean, with the way that the goals were coming in thick and fast, I thought this game was going to end like 5-4 or even 6-5 between both of these teams. And that's even when DC had a man send off in this one because both teams kind of forgot how to play defense starting around the 40th minute mark. Now, in the first half, pass would deny click just 20 seconds in, and that kind of would foreshadow what we'll see in this game, where there's going to be tons of chances that's created by both of these teams. But in the second minute of this game, Benteke would score from Kutibietro and Bartlett to give DC a 1-0 lead. That lead lasted only 7 minutes because in the ninth minute, and really the first shot for Dallas, Tafari would score from the jet here to tie the game up at one apiece. Yeah, that was terrible set piece defending there from DC. I mean, Tafari just left wide open there in the front post. I mean, it was still a great finish there, especially for a defender, but you cannot let a player wide open like that. And in the well, I say it's in the front post, but it's more like in the back post that happened. But yeah, that ties the game up at one apiece. Van Deke did look to answer, but he puts it over before Farfan would puts it over from close range. As it's been a lively start for both of these teams. They were both pushing for the lead, and in the 21st minute, it would be Dallas the one that gets the lead. Sebastian Leggett, he scored from Juan and Farrington to give the lead for Dallas. Kutibietro did look to respond, but he missed wide there before Ariola went miss wide from close in the 33rd minute. And then this is when basically this game decided to turn into FIFA Ultimate Team, where defense was pretty much put to the sideline, and this is when the goal scoring really starts. So it started in the 40th minute when Ariola would score from Aramondi and Ensemblin to give Dallas a 3-1 lead. But then just 2 minutes later, DC would get one back as Talik would get his first goal for DC. It might be his first career MLS goal, if I'm not mistaken. He scored here from Benteke and Stroud to make it 3-2 in this one. Only 1 minute later, Ensemblin would make it 4-2 in this game as he scored from Leggett and Farrington after just a bit of a tic-tac-toe kind of play that all started because of a bad turnover from DC. Because again, defense pretty much put to a side. It's all about scoring now around this point. And I even wrote, what is defending? Because it was definitely not found in this game right by both of these teams. And then in the second minute of stoppage time, just as you thought that this first half has not gone crazy enough, Boris Eno would get himself his second yellow card. So DC, of course, now down to 10 men, and it could have been 5-2 just in the fourth minute of stoppage time because Bono absolutely robbed Leggett from close and almost made it 5-2 at halftime. I don't think there's been ever a game where I've seen the scoreline being 5-2. I remember there was a game where the scoreline was 5-1. I think this was, I believe, actually, it wasn't 5-1. I'm sorry. It was like 5-0, and it was between Chicago and Atlanta, and this happened like, I think, 2017, if I remember. By the way, I have not seen a team score 5 goals at halftime. I've seen a couple of teams have scored 4 at halftime. Obviously, Portland, of course, they did it earlier this season against Colorado, scoring four goals, and I believe they also did it again against Nashville as well because I think they put 4 past Nashville in the first half as well. But I haven't seen anyone score 5 in quite some time, and yeah, they almost did it there and almost put up just a crazy score line. And again, it's only halftime in this game, and it's 4-2 between both of these teams. And then just 3 minutes later, the no defense theme continued because in the 48th minute, Jared Shrub would score from Acamoni and Rodriguez to make it 4-3. By the way, while this game was concluded, I did decided to watch the MLS 360 show a bit after the game is over, and I could not believe my eyes when I saw the fact that this game was 4-3 and we're in the 48th minute. It was quite insane, the fact that how this game was going, and I thought this game was going to end 7-5, isn't it? Because again, defense, what is that? It definitely was not being found in this game whatsoever. But in the 52nd minute, Farrington did try to make it. I lost count. What's the score? I think it's 5-3 up to this point because it's 4-3 after a Stroud score here. But he missed wide there before Farfan would put it wide from long range. Pass then denied Piani from close before pass would tip Schneck shot over, and this is again the point where defense still are nowhere to be found, but the finishing wasn't as lethal as what we saw near the end of the first half and even into the beginning of the second half as well. Pass then denied Schleek shot over. Despite being a man up, DC continued to press hard and look to tie it up at four apiece because, again, no defense being played in this game. So there's still a chance that even when you're a man down, and because, they have an even amount of an attack between both of these teams, there's still a chance that DC could get a point out of this game despite their down a man. Stroud then missed wide from long range before Priani would miss wide from long range. And yeah, in the end, that was pretty much it in terms of the last big chance of the game. As in the end, Dallas, they get the 4-3 win in this one. Kind of a little unconventional because they did kind of have to hold on a bit late in the game and hope that their no defense kind of approach, along with the way that DC was also going with a no defense approach, would worked out in the end. Shots in this one, 16 shots with the 13 that Dallas had, 6 shots on goal for the 8 that Dallas had, 4 shots off target for the 5 that DC had. Both team had, well, actually, I'm sorry, 4 shots I was blocked for the none that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 52% possession compared to the 48% possession that DC has in this game. So again, just a wild game, and it's hard to believe that this was not the wildest game, as what we saw later in this match week, and literally the game that I've just watched that just concluded about 25 minutes ago. But for Dallas, a huge win for them for their hope in terms of pushing themselves into the playoffs. Can't say the same for DC United. And again, this game also kind of in some way sums up their season. They have played these kind of close games before, but they just never been able to get a big win in these close games throughout the season as well. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Miami versus FC Cincinnati, and of course is the rematch after what we saw earlier this season when Cincinnati not only took over the Supporter Shield leading race, but yeah, they put in a 6 spot against Inter Miami, and ever since that, it feels like what's kind of weird is that after that 6-1 win, not only that was a highlight for Cincinnati, but it's also kind of where the downfall began for Cincinnati because ever since Cincinnati won that one 6-1 against Miami and took over the Supporter Shield lead, they have not looked like the same team after that, and they have been going through a bit of a downfall. And in this game, at least early on, it looked like I thought this was gonna be Miami giving Cincinnati a little bit taste of their own medicine and maybe get revenge in this one because literally just 1 minute into this game, 30 seconds into this game, Luis Suarez would score from Wangad and Bright to give Miami a 1-0 lead, and then just 5 minutes later, he would score again. He scored from Rojas to make it 2-0 in favor of Miami, and I already immediately thought, oh, this could get ugly for Cincinnati because Miami, they have not forgotten about that 6-1 beatdown that they suffered earlier this season. They're out for blood and look to trying to get more goals. Now, it turns out that of course wasn't going to be the case because as we'll talk about throughout reviewing this game, yeah, something happened in this game that kind of forced Miami to just kind of pack it in and hope that those 2 goals that they scored in the first 6 minutes would be enough for them to win the game. And did I also mention the fact that they win this game, they would clinch playoff spot? Yeah, they've now becoming the first official MLS team to clinch their playoff spot, and it's hard to believe I'm saying that because we're not even near the end of August as we speak. But in the 11th minute, Giacchini did look to answer and try to score his first goal for Cincinnati ever since he returned to MLS not long ago, but he hits it right to counter before Buka would hit one right to counter. As Cincinnati has definitely got into this game, but so far most of these chances has been kind of easy meat for counter to deal with. Suarez would then hits one right to Sayatano before counter denied Kelsey from close range, and then the 42nd minute again. This is when Miami kind of was forced to have to get in a bit. I mean, they were kind of packing it in a little bit, wasn't getting too much chances, and I think Cincinnati had some chances of their own, but the Thomas Alvarez second yellow card kind of forced them to really pack it in, and as they were down to 10 men, Awazim did try to take advantage of straight away, but he heads it wide before Oriano would cross it wide from long range, and with a man up and still 9 minutes of stoppage time, Cincinnati was definitely pushing hard to try to get one back before halftime, but we do head to halftime with Miami holding on to that 2-0 lead. Now, in the second half, nothing's really happened, at least in the beginning of the second half, and I thought that favored Miami because they were looking to try to grind their way, trying to pack it in, and hope those 2 goals they've scored in the first 6 minutes enough to make it to to get themselves 3 points, but also most importantly clinch a playoff position. Costa would puts it high from long range. Miami was really sitting almost in a low block. They were trying to see if Cincinnati can try to break them down. And for Cincinnati, as much as they have a lot of attacking talent of their own, they were having a lot of problem in terms of trying to break down this Miami low block. In fact, Gomez has the next chance, but he missed wide from close before counter denied Santos in the 76th. Santos then had a curler that was blocked in the far post before counter would deny Kubo, and then he was able to punch that one away before there was any rebound that was being created. This is the first time we've seen counter kind of make an unorthodox move to deny of a rebound. I mean, it feels like even when he does give up a rebound, he just kind of makes sure that he doesn't allow anyone to do so with a very unorthodox kind of move. And this was an example of it. It looked like Cincinnati was going to pounce on the rebound, but Counter just said no. He's going to just punch that one away before there was a chance for Cincy to score on the rebound. But again, Cincinnati, they were putting heavy pressure. But problem is, they cannot quite break this Miami defense, who has really shown a lot of resilience. Oriano would then hits one right to counter. And yeah, that was pretty much it. The last chance of the game as Miami, those 2 goals that they scored in the first 6 minutes by Luis Suarez hold up in the scoreline. As the shots of this one, yeah, not a lot of shots. Only 4 shots compared to 17 that Cincinnati has in this one. 6 shots on goal for the 3 that Miami has. 1 shot off target for the 4 that Cincinnati has. Both teams had 6 shots that was blocked and possession-wise, and it kind of got a little smudged. There are 44% possession compared to 57% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. So yeah, for Miami, they didn't really quite put a big fucking number just like Cincinnati does, but they don't care. I mean, it's a massive win for them. Continue to extend the lead in the supporter show. And by the way, in terms of that supporter show race, it's not between Miami and Cincinnati anymore. It's more between Miami and the Galaxy because the Galaxy actually have now overtaken Cincinnati in that second position. And like I said, the Cincinnati team, they've just not been the same ever since they suffered. So, or I wouldn't say they suffer, but they prosper in terms of that 6-1 win. And again, when you have like a big win like that in the regular season, especially a statement win, it is very easy to use that win and say that we pretty much won it all and now everything is going to be easy because how many times I've said that when you get a big win like that, you're going to suffer a bit of a letdown in the next game and maybe that big win kind of get over your head a little bit and not realizing that you still have more work to do for the rest of the season. I think this is kind of what we're seeing with Cincinnati right now. It feels like that big win that they had. It feels like that was a win that they thought that not only they conquered the mountain, but also have a chance to breeze by another supporter shield win. And ever since that, of course, has not been the case. Now, obviously, that being said, they also have been battling with injury. I mean, as I mentioned, the back line for the Cincy team pretty much been completely wrecked. They were without Acosta for a couple of games before the All Star break as well. But still, just the downfall that Cincinnati has had in the last couple of games, that is definitely concerning if you're a Cincinnati fan. Because while I know this team will make the playoffs, and while I know that they could go deep into the playoffs, I don't know if they have enough in terms of facing against the really big top tier team right now in the East. Because right now, if you ask me, between if Cincinnati facing the likes of Miami and Columbus, I would say Columbus and Miami will have the advantage over Cincinnati right now because I think both of those teams I mentioned is just way better and are more well-rounded than what Cincinnati is right now, and that's got to be frustrating if you're a Cincinnati fan because you feel like this is the year to try and to avenge after losing last year in the Hell is Real Derby in the conference final, and it doesn't seem like they just have enough to do. So again, things can still change as the season goes along. Just like how I said that, you remember a couple of months, everybody found that Cincinnati was going to really run the Eastern Conference and complete their revenge tour, and now it doesn't seem like that is the case anymore. Well, that being said, moving on, we got New England and Montreal. So you know how when I did that video, I talked about the playoff race where I was a little bit concerned about New England because they're not only far behind, but they have a lot of games to play in a short amount of period. Do they have enough in the tank to do so? I didn't think they were because they were suffering a lot of injury. Yeah, New England want to have a word with that because yeah, in this game they kind of make a statement to the rest of the the league and certainly the teams that is in this jam-packed playoff race in the Eastern Conference that yeah they are coming and they are coming strong and when they're at their best no one is going to stop them and in this game yes I know it's against Montreal and I know this is not the first time I'm seeing Montreal getting absolutely destroyed this season. This has happened a lot, but yeah, there's definitely maybe opened a bit of an eyebrow, especially the fact that they did it on the road as well, which is a place where they have not done very well this season whatsoever. And that being said, in the first half, just 7 minutes in, on the first shot of the game, it's in the back of the net as Bobby Wood, all of a sudden, he cannot stop scoring a goal. Who would have thought that Bobby Wood, a guy that has been kind of almost been an outcast for New England until this recent Leeds Cup run. Now all of a sudden he's scoring for fun because he scored here from by and here to give New England a 1-0 lead, as I mentioned. That was the first shot of the game. Saliba did look to answer, but he puts it over from long range before Ivasic would deny Saliba from long range, and then Ivasic would deny Clark from close. As I thought it was a good response for Montreal as they were trying to press to get the equalizer. Lima then heads it wide from close before Polster would puts it wide from long range. But then the 37th minute, Bobby Wood would score his second goal of the game, and that play kind of just sums up Montreal. The fans in terms of them giving up that second goal. I mean, just bunch of players not being able to get to the ball. I mean, to be fair, Bobby Wood did a good job in terms of doing a little bit keep away, but he's on the ground. Like he's on the ground to basically trying to keep that ball within his body. The fact that there was no Montreal player that even get there was like three Montreal player could have easily took that ball away, and the fact that none of them did, and somehow in some way Bobby Wood was still able to sneak in past Siwas in terms of that second goal that was scored by him and New England. That's just a textbook example of how Montreal has defended this season. As I mentioned, they're one of the worst defensive team in the league. It's been like that for the past couple of years, and that's just kind of the peak of it. But that being said, the post would deny Ismir from long range before Boateng was in on goal there, but Siwas it just about getting to that one as he was coming off the line. New England was pressing late to try to get the third goal. They were definitely on top. They were feeling themselves, and Montreal defense just nowhere to be found whatsoever in the latter part. They were all over the place in the end of the first half. But we do head to halftime with New England leading 2-0, and in the second half, Ivasic would deny Lapinainen from close before Lapinainen would hit the post from close in the 54th minute. And once again, Montreal, I thought they started well in the second half. They were looking to get one back, and this is where you got to be careful if you're New England. I mean, as dominant as they were in the first half, if you give Montreal a go back, who knows what's going to happen? And Montreal has shown that they are able to come back as well. Duke would then miss one from close range, but New England eventually did put this game away in the 71st minute as Nick Lima, I believe this is his first goal for New England. I don't think he has scored a goal for New England so far. It's been a long time since Nick Lima has scored a goal. In fact, I think you have to even go back to the pre-COVID days that he had last scored a goal for the Quakes as well. But he scored here from Carlos Hill to make it 3-0 in favor of New England. Ivasic then denied Opoku from close range, but then this is when the game really got out of hand. In the 80th minute, Giacomo Veroni would score for Lagoni and Parks to make it 4-0, and then Lagoni saw this goal scoring fame was kind of for him, so he decided that he's going to score just 3 minutes later from Barrero and Harks to make it 5-0 in favor of New England. And yeah, that was the final score of this game. Just an absolute domination that they had over Montreal. And again, I know it's Montreal, and I know this is a team that has had these kind of results where they're just getting absolutely blown apart by opposition. But at the end of the day, this is definitely a great sign for this New England team, and especially starting this run of form where they're going to have the most game out of anybody in MLS remaining, and have probably the toughest schedule when it comes to games thick and fast for them for the remaining of the year compared to rest of the team. But it's definitely getting off to a great start with this 5-0 win. The shots in this one 14 shots for the 13 that Montreal has, 4 shots on goal for the 6 that New England has, 2 shots off target for the 5 that New England has, 2 shots out of block for the 4 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that New England has. And while New England is definitely looking like they could go on a very late run to charge up the standings. You can't say the same thing about Montreal. It looks like they might not even wait until the final game of the season to break their fans' heart because yeah, this team just yeah, not much you can say about this performance other than the fact that let's just hope the next one will be a little bit better for them in terms of their quest to make it to the playoffs. Because if that's not the case, yeah, like I said, it's not gonna wait until the final day before we know that Montreal probably is gonna get eliminated from the playoffs. And then finally, moving on into the last game, we got NYCFC versus the Chicago Fire. And I gotta say, it's not very often I see a team facing against the Chicago Fire and decide to do a very Chicago Fire-esque kind of thing. Although for NYCFC, at least when it comes to the last couple of games, they have had a lot of issue when it comes to trying to close out games. I mean, it all stemmed back from that absolute debacle that they had against Cincinnati, where they just completely imploded in the last 15 minutes of the game. And in this one, while it was not a very similar implosion compared to the Cincinnati game, and at least they didn't lose that this game like they did against Cincinnati in Leeds Cup. It's equally painful because they were cruising in this game. Like Chicago was not in this game whatsoever, and then all of a sudden they scored two goals, and that was that. In the third minute, Brady would deny Martinez from point blank effort, but then in the 15 minutes, Brady couldn't do anything about this shot from Alonso Martinez, but because he buries this one into the bottom left corner from Maxi Morales to make it 1-0 in favor of NYCFC. And then just 7 minutes later, he would score again. This time he scored from Keaton Parks to make it 2-0. And I thought this could get ugly for Chicago because NYCFC was definitely feeling it. They were looking ruthless, and knowing the fact that Chicago, just like how say that Seattle has Minnesota number, NYCFC has had Chicago's number recently, and this looked like it's going to be an easy win for NYCFC. Goodman would look to answer, but he missed wide there before Rodriguez felt that he scored the third goal for NYCFC, but the goal was disallowed for offside. The Fire defense clearly didn't show up in this game. I mean, to be fair, a lot of defense haven't shown up in this game because of the way that it was feels like it's a power surge of goals that's been scored this week. But yeah, the Fire defense clearly not showing up in this game because every time NYCFC have a chance to score, and every time they try to shoot toward goal, it ends up into the back of net, and they're very fortunate that they're not 3-0 down in this one. Freeze would then deny Aragoni from close, but we do head to halftime with NYCFC comfortably with a 2-0 lead. In the second half, Gray would miss just wide from close before Martinez looked to go for his Hattie again, his second one this season, but he missed wide there. NYCFC again have started off well. They were looking to try to get the third goal, and really as time winds down again, there was just no signs that NYCFC was going to sell implode in this game. I mean, they were look like they were cruising to an easy 2-0 win, and then this is when the self implosion began. It started in the 77th minute, really just completely against the run of play and out of nowhere. Hugo Kuipers would score from Salquist to get one back for the Fire, and then as we head near the end of the game, still looking pretty comfortable. I mean, yes, that goal that Chicago have scored, it's a bit of a setback for NYCFC, but they were still cruising. Oh, wait, it's not like Chicago really put a lot of pushback whatsoever to try to get this equalizing goal. But then in the second minute stoppage time, a penalty was given. It was given to the Fire as Tavon Gray handballed there in the box. No doubt whatsoever. You can clearly see on the replay his hand was in an unnatural position when that ball was struck. So that gives Ryan Gutierrez a chance to unlikely tie the game up for the Fire, and he did exactly that. Again, just NYCFC completely hitting the self-destruct button again after looking like they were going to be cruising their way to an easy 3 points. Though Martins then had a chance to give NYCFC the lead back, but he heads one right to Brady. And in the end, I mean, just just a game where I never would have thought I would say a team can do a Chicago Fire esque kind of thing, or decided to do like a Chicago in a game, but that's what NYCFC did in this game. They drew 2-2 against the Fire, despite the fact that it looked like they were going to on their way to get an easy 3 points. The shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 9 that the Fire has, 3 shots on goal compared to 4 that NYCFC had, 4 shots off target compared to 2 that the Fire has, 4 shots off block compared to 3 that NYCFC had, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession the Fire has in this game. And while the Fire definitely did not play well whatsoever in this one, the fact that they got this point, they'll definitely cherish it, and maybe, just maybe, this might be the beginning of the luck being turned around. Because as we're now heading late in the season, this is not the kind of luck the Chicago Fire normally get this deep late into the season, especially making a playoff run. So if this is happening, something tells me something special could happen for the Fire. Something tells me maybe this is finally the year that they end that playoff drought. Or the fact that maybe that this is going to be false hope, because I'm pretty sure Fire fans are telling me to shut up right now. Don't and tell me that never have hope with this team, because anytime when you have hope with this team, it's going to end in disappointment. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of this quick review of the first 6 games. Like I said, I'm going to be reviewing the last 6 games once I get back to California. Probably I'm going to do it on Monday itself. I mean, I probably could do it on Sunday as well, but on Sunday I want to mostly specifically look at the Leeds Cup final game, and also the third place match as well. So most likely I'm going to talk about the remaining game on Monday, and of course that include that crazy game that we saw between the Portland Timbers and St. Louis City, and then also a couple of big upset resort, including, and I know this might be a little bit of a spoiler alert, but of course if you watch these games, it's not really a spoiler. I cannot believe my team actually or my other team actually won a game on the road and got a shutout on the road, nevertheless, against one of the best team in MLS. And that's all I'll say in terms of that. So it's not really a spoiler, but more than kind of a hint in terms of, well, of probably one of the biggest upset we have seen this week. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these 6 games. Again, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.